Hi and welcome to assignment 8 for test topic 2 or topic 2, in which we have to move a little further on the same input checking. In exercise 7 we needed to tell the user if his input, the input he or she gave, was a number or not. In this case we have to take it a little further. If it's a number, I have to let the user know whether it's an integer or a decimal number. So this, of course, seems to look like the previous exercise, and I'm going to get my solution from the previous exercise here, which basically read the input and then checked if the input, which is a string, is not a number, in which case it says no, or else it is a number. And it seemingly took care of integers as well as floats. So in the case that I have this, now I have to change the message a little, so not a number. But in this case, now I have two cases which I have to discern. Okay. So in this case, I have to know whether it's a float or an integer. Okay. How can I do that? Let's first run the test, see where they take us. Okay. And I have the not a number case working already. Okay. The other cases don't work. Well, how can I decide if this is a float or an integer? I can say, and if we look at the hints, the two fixes there, what I can do is I can try parsing it to an int, okay, or to a float, and then revert it back to a string. And if it's the same as the input string, then I'm okay and I know what it is. So let's assume for a minute that we have this 1, 2, 3, which is going to be converted to 1, 2, 3. If I convert it back to with 2 fixed to a string with 2 fixed 0, so no decimal part, then it should be 1, 2, 3 again. And I can compare this with the original input. What happens if I have, for instance, 123.4? We have to check what happens then if I parse it to an int. Because if I parse it to a float, this will give me 123.4. And if I, well, fix it back to, but I don't know how many decimals I've gotten, so I can't use 2 fixed, then this should give me back the same number. So let's see what parseInt does with my number, so my input, and let's print it for a moment, and let's see what happens if I give it a float. Okay, so if I give it an int, of course I will get the int back. If I don't give it a number, I will get not a number. But what happens if I give it a float? So let's give it a float. 123.4. I'm going to, for a moment, put this in comments. And let's run it. And it gives me 123. So this is important information. If I give it a float, it converts it to an int, and it just leaves off the decimal part. And that's, of course, my clue to whether this is an integer or not. So I can do what? I can basically say if I take this as an input and I take it back to a string, okay, and this equals my input. So let me explain this step by step. If I take the input and it happens to be 123.4 and I parse it to an int, this will take it to 1.3. If I fix this with the 0 decimals, I get still 123, but as a string. And this is, of course, not the same as my original input, which is 123.4. But if I give it just 123, then this will be parsed to the int 123, when I get it back to a string with 0 decimals, I will get back the string 1, 2, 3, which will be of course the same as my input. So in this case, I can just io.write that this is about an integer. And in the other case, since I already know that it must be a number, otherwise the if would have taken me out and sent me to the case not a number. In the other case, I will have of course that it's decimal. Okay. Mind the fact that I didn't write curly braces here because there's only one line, and of course I could ditch them here as well. I don't need them because this is only a one-liner as well. Okay, so I could basically ditch all the curly braces, even this ones, because inside these ones there's only one statement, and it's the big if-else statement. Let's run the tests, see if they succeed. And not yet. Okay, that's probably because I mixed up the two, because as you see I got int and it should be decimal, and this is probably going to be the other way around. So let's see if I parse to an int and I get it back, then it should be an int, otherwise it should be in decimal. Oh yes, it's of course because of the fact that I fixed my input, so I have to read whatever the test gives me and run the test back, and now I get green tests. Okay, so this is the solution to exercise 8 of topic 2.